thought Stanford, for missing their best player, they played extremely poised in the game, particularly to close the half and to close the game. They were excellent at controlling clock, and they were excellent at their last-minute decision-making, and they did an excellent job, I thought, of rallying around themselves with their best player sitting on the sidelines, and an excellent shooting guard sitting over there as well, too. I didn't think we played particularly well in the game, and we certainly wasted what was just a wonderful opportunity here with the crowd, the students, the community coming out to see this team play after playing so well on Thursday. No excuses. I'm scratching my head right now a little bit because we're missing rotations, we're missing blockouts, we took some bad shots, and we've kind of monitored this team that when we don't play well, obviously when we take bad shots and there are points off those bad shots, when you have turnovers and there's points off those turnovers, and we don't block out and there's points off of those missed blockouts, and I counted about 30-plus points for them in the game tonight. That's an awful lot of points to give a team where you are responsible for those things. I thought Robo had a tough night. I've seen this before where you have that long of a length of a period off 3 weeks, and you come back and that first game back, you've got your energy excited and you play well, but then you've got to go back and realize the old body is a little bit sore, a little bit more broken down. He was a little bit sore yesterday in practice, and with this early start time, I didn't think his body bounced back well at all for what we needed out of him, and consequently he just had a bad shooting night and everything that led to some things on defense too.
Stanford's a pretty big and long team, and they seem to get into the passing lanes a lot, but how many of the turnovers are careless turnovers that have to do with effort, and how many are forced by Stanford?
I'll have to look at tape to be exact on our turnovers, but I thought a lot of them were caused by us. A lot of times you've heard me use this word a lot, rhythm, and we took ourselves out of rhythm because there were excellent opportunities to swing that ball one more time. Some of the one-on-one in the first half that led to bad basketball plays, it knocked us out of rhythm. So a lot of those turnovers, passes that weren't high enough, weren't over the top, and they are a long basketball team, but a lot of that was not so much of them, it was us in terms of being able to make basketball plays.
They had a play late that I think put them up 7. I think Wills cut to the basket and Davis slipped him a pass for a dunk. Was that kind of just symbolic of the game where a missed defensive assignment kind of leads to an easy bucket there?
And I'll have to look at tape, but I thought there were probably about 7 or 8 for sure missed rotations in the game. The 2 back doors. One was in the first half, one was in the second half. When we're in the zone, we don't rotate over to the middle, and they dive a guy down the middle, something we walk through and talk about, and we missed those opportunities and they scored. So I say a lot of it was us, more so our ability to pass it, our ability to defend and execute a game plan.
And as efficient as Ahmed was, do you just need to find a way to get a guy like that more than 7 shots when he is that hot from 3? And
it would be nice if we would pass him the ball more, particularly when a guy is hot. You would think you would find him more, but it was tough rotations because the team started to sit on him a little bit, and being a little bit smaller is harder for him to get open, but I thought he played extremely well in the first half. And then I thought CJ played extremely hard in the game. You're going to have bad shooting nights, but you have to play hard. You have to do that. And I don't think we played hard enough at times in the game, and they did, and they made us pay.
Ernie, you mentioned the momentum that you had from the other night, and you've been in this game a long time. This looked like a step back tonight. You've probably encountered these kinds of things before where you have a great game and you look to build on momentum and all of a sudden it disappears. What happens in this circumstance? Where do you go from here?
Well, you go back to work in your practice and you get ready for the road. Everybody wants to protect their home court. We let a great opportunity get away from us with 2 of their key players out, very similar to what we've had to deal with when we've been on the road without 2 of our players out, and we lost that opportunity. Nothing we can do about that now. Whether you win the game lose it by 1, lose it by 20, doesn't matter. It's about coming back now, and we're going to have to find one of these wins, steal one of these wins on the road, and it is tough on the road in this conference. That's why it's so important to protect your home court. We did a great job of it on Thursday. We did not do a good job of it today at 12 o'clock in the 12 o'clock game. We just weren't there.
Is there any reason you kind of waited a half to bring Isaiah into the game?
When you look at Isaiah and you look at Jeff, a lot of what Jeff does defensively, rotations and some of those things, playing in our 2 defense, I thought he was playing well. He missed a couple of the point-blank layups there. He had a couple of nice jump hooks and missed some layups. So brought Isaiah just to get more energy on the floor and brought him in the second half. So there was no rhyme or reason for it. I thought Jeff was doing a good job for us defensively. That kid's pretty big down there. If you make one mistake, they're throwing it up to him. And for the most part, he did a pretty good job.
So I noticed that in the first half, Ahmed Ali was 4 for 4 from 3, had a lot of playing time, and in the second half, I seen him kind of sitting a lot, and he only was able to take one 3-point jumper. Could you explain that a little bit, please?
You know, some of that when they went to the 1-3-1, which we run, it was very difficult for him up top with that size. When you got 6'9", and 7 feet up top, for him to get it over the top. And then you see him down in the corner. It's very difficult to see him down in the corner as well, too. So a lot of that had to do with Stanford's alignment defensively that took his shot away. They did a good job of with the 1-3-1 of making it difficult to find him in the corner, and he had a difficult time up top, seeing over the top of it as well.
Coach, you kind of alluded to this earlier. Stanford had a lot of excitement here today. There was a late arriving crowd. For stretches in this game, do you think your team struggled to generate energy for certain periods?
You know, I would say for certain periods of the game, we didn't have the juice that we needed to play with, as I call it. I thought the crowd, even though late arriving, it was still an excellent crowd. We started out the game in the first 2 or 3 minutes really well. And they counterpunched, and the game kind of took shape. And I felt like there was a point in time in the game where they stepped up and we didn't. And then we came back in the second half, and you just couldn't close that 5 to 6 point gap to put any more pressure on them. But I thought the crowd, whether they came late or not, they were here. And they did their part. We didn't do our part in the game.
Coach, the bench only produced 5 points today. Your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I think what Stanford did with their size and their length, it made it tough for anybody coming off that bench to get on the floor. And because we were not in what I would call a rhythm. If you're in a rhythm where you're getting stops, you're getting scores, you're getting stops, you're getting scores, you substitute, you can keep the rhythm going. But as herky-jerky as our offense was, too much one-on-one at times, too much dribbling at times. We knocked ourselves out of rhythm, so it's hard to go to that bench and find that continuity that you're looking for when all of a sudden a team has got a 1-3-1 there sitting on you. You put Carter in the game, he's stationary, he's standing in the corner, he's standing up top. Things like that were very difficult to do. CJ did the best job against that because he had the ability to put it on the floor, penetrate, and make plays versus the 1-3-1.
Heading to Corvallis and Eugene, what's the biggest thing that you need to address to your team?
The energy that's going to be in those two buildings, they've not seen before because we've not had to deal with anybody's crowd yet in student section because school has been out at UW, at Colorado, and at Utah. They're getting ready to see now a road game, and I'm talking about the new guys. The vets know this. You've got to really go in together and on the same page and with some mental and physical toughness into those two environments we're going to go into. Excellent teams, very well coached, size, veteran leadership in both of those situations. They're going to be tough environments to play in, so we've got to really, and my saying, I always say, pay attention to detail when you get ready to go on the road in those environments.